In today's episode, we'll talk about how business cards actually work and why more than half of our credit cards that we apply for are business cards. Business cards are a big part of our points and miles strategy, and if you've been thinking that you're not eligible for a business card, you're probably wrong, and we're here to talk about that today. Tune in. Hi, I'm Rhea.
And I'm Dwayne.
And we are your hosts of the Travel Party of Five podcast, where we share how we travel as a family of five around the world.
We will also share how we use points and miles to travel as affordably as possible and sometimes even completely free.
So if you're wanting to travel more with your family, but you're not sure how, we'd love for you to listen in.
So welcome to our podcast, where we hope you learn a thing or two to get you closer to your next trip.
Hello and welcome back to Travel Party of Five podcast.
Yes, welcome back. Thanks for tuning in.
Today's episode is all about business cards, which maybe sounds like kind of a snooze, but we have earned like more than half the points we earn in a year come from business cards. And so if you have been thinking that you are not eligible for a business card because you don't have a quote unquote real business, you're probably wrong. We're going to talk about it. So I think business cards can be an incredible source of points and miles if you take the time to understand how they actually work. And if you understand that the ability to qualify for these business cards basically doubles your ability to earn points and miles, because most major credit cards have both a personal and a business version of the card. Not to mention, most business cards do not count towards your 524 status. And if you remember, were you going to ask?
Yeah, I was going to ask you to remind us.
So Chase specifically keeps track of how many credit cards you have opened, personal credit cards, in the last 24 months. And they will not issue you another card if you are above 524. So if you've opened 5 cards in the last 24 months, and it doesn't have to be just Chase cards, it can be any personal credit cards, then you cannot open or apply for another Chase card until you're under 5 cards in 24 months. It doesn't matter if you open the card and then close it right away, it still counts. The opening date is what counts. So business cards, for the most part, there's one or two that do count, but most business cards do not count towards 524. So you also don't need to have an LLC or a tax ID number. You don't need to have like a physical office building. You don't need to have employees. You don't need any of that. And there's actually no written law about what does or does not qualify for a business credit card. So in theory, anyone can apply for a business credit card. I will say my understanding is that like the generally accepted rule of thumb is that you need to be engaging in some sort of activity with the intent of making a profit in order to be approved. And I think intent is the driving keyword there. But if you think of it, there's a lot of startups, 1099, like independent contractors, self-employed people who can qualify for business cards before they ever make $1. So yeah. And I think there's like so many things that a regular person does with the intent of making a profit that could qualify you to open a business card, or 5.
Yes, 4, if you're me.
Yes. So I checked right before we started recording. And so I currently have 5 business cards open and Dwayne has 4. And that doesn't include, like, there was a Southwest business card that we each opened that we've since closed. I also closed one of my Chase Inc. business cards because I applied for another one. So, yeah.
All right. So what are some ideas of what could constitute a business?
Okay, so I think, first of all, if you get 1099 income from anywhere, so 1099 basically means you're an independent contractor and taxes are not being taken out of your payment, right? So that right there alone qualifies you for a business card because that is a business. I also think if you have a day job that requires you to maybe have some spend on a card, whether that be travel or otherwise, that could also qualify you for a business card. I know that I just took a work trip for a conference and I had to pay for the hotel out of pocket and all my meals out of pocket and submit those to be reimbursed. So that could qualify for a business card. Another really popular one is selling things on Facebook Marketplace or OfferUp or Poshmark, those types of sites. Driving for Lyft or Uber, which is something that you do in the summers. So that qualifies you right there for business cards. If you own or manage any rental properties, that's a business. If you do any kind of childcare providing, like I don't care if you're watching your grandkids one day a week, like I say it counts. If you're like any type of online freelance, like writing, obviously that works. And I mean, I think the list goes on. You can be pretty creative. And I think I already said this, but you don't need a tax ID. You don't need to claim business card expenses on your taxes. And I think this is something that trips a lot of people up, but filing taxes and business credit cards are completely separate things.
Okay, so walk me through an application process and why or how is it different?
Like from a personal
Yep.
card? Okay. So generally a business credit card application is going to have two different parts, and one is going to be for the business and one is going to be personal. So let's kind of go through it step by step. So unless you have an LLC or are incorporated, which I think probably most people are not, but if you are, great, you can apply that way. But if not, you're going to apply as a sole proprietor. And so on the application, the business name is going to be your exact name and nothing else. So it's really important that we are not making up a business name here, right? Like we are not opening up like Rhea's Facebook shop, okay? The name of my business is my full name and that's it. Nothing else, nothing added. Because sometimes the credit card company will come back and say they want proof. So they'll want, like if you're a sole proprietor, typically they're just looking for your social security number. So like your social security card would be proof of that. And then proof of like the business name at the address you said. So that could be like a utility bill with your name on it and address, right? But if you made up a business name, you obviously don't have anything that shows that business name at your address. So just use your name. Don't use anything else. And then okay, we've done name. So then business revenue. So this is the amount of revenue that your business brings in per year. Note that this is revenue and not profit. So if you bought a stroller 5 years ago for $200 and then you sold that stroller for $150, like $150 is your revenue, right?
Yep.
I wouldn't stress if that number is low, and we're going to talk about why in a minute. Tax ID number is where you're going to put in your social security number. And again, we're still in the business portion of the application. Business address is your home address, unless, again, you have an actual business location. You're going to use your home address. Time in business is how long you've been engaged in the business. So I don't know. I sold my first thing on Facebook Marketplace in probably 2015. So I guess what's that, 9 years? Type of business again is sole proprietor, and business industry is whatever they have. It's a drop down menu. So you're going to choose like kind of the best option amongst whatever those drop down options are. It is often not a perfect fit, and I would not stress about that a lot. And then it may also ask you your role in the business, and you want to choose owner. Do not choose president. You need to choose owner. Okay. And that usually completes the business section. And then we get into the personal section.
Why not choose president?
Do
you know?
I don't fully know why, but yeah, I think, I don't know. I truly don't know.
No worries.
But choose owner. Yeah. Okay, so then we get into the business or the personal section of the business card application. And this works the exact same as the personal card application. So they're going to ask you for your home address, your annual income, your social security number. For annual income, you want to make sure you put in your household income in this spot. So not just your business income, but if you have a regular 9-to-5 job and your spouse does too, you want to include all of your household income in this box, especially if you're...
So the total of everyone's income.
The total of everyone's income. Yep. So when I do it, I do my income plus your income. And that's the household income. And I do that on both of our applications. As a side note, if you are a stay-at-home parent, mom or dad, you can apply for credit cards using your spouse's salary. Okay. So again, it's household income. It is not just your income. Okay. And for business cards specifically, if your revenue is low, right? If it's like, maybe it's like $1,000 for the year or something like that's pretty low. Okay. But if your household income knocks that out of the water, it's very important that you include your household income, because basically what the credit card company is looking for is, can this person repay this debt one way or another, right? Like maybe it can't come from the business, but can it come from their personal income? Yes, it can. Okay.
So moving forward, do business cards impact my taxes?
No, not at all. And I think this is a really common misconception, but business cards have zero impact on your taxes, and none of your spending is reported to the IRS in any manner. So if you open a business card and you put childcare and groceries and whatever on it, like the IRS is never going to know that, like it's completely separate things. Now, if you do have a legitimate business, it does make sense maybe to keep one card that's specific to the business, just for ease of when you file your taxes.
Sure.
You do need to have a record of that. But if there's other things on that card too, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
Yep. All right. So do business cards show up on my credit report?
So normally, no. When you apply, they do pull your personal credit, which will generate a hard inquiry usually, but it usually doesn't report the account to the personal credit bureaus. And there's a couple of exceptions. So Discover and Capital One are two of the bigger ones that I'm aware of, but Discover doesn't really have any good travel cards anyway, so I don't really know why you'd be opening those. And Capital One, I think, has a couple of business cards that do count as 524. I don't have any of them because I'm already at 4 out of 5. So I guess just be cautious if you're close and you're applying for a Capital One business card. But other than those couple of cards, they will not impact your credit utilization, your credit history, and will have no impact on your credit score, even if you're approved. So hopefully that answers that.
Yeah, I'm going to ask this question, but I think it's pretty silly. Do I need to pay my business credit card debt?
Yes.
Of course you do.
Yes. Well, I think like sometimes people are like, oh, well, technically like that debt belongs to the business. And it's like, no, it doesn't. You're still personally liable for any spending you put on a business card. So yes, you have to pay it.
All right. So can I use the business cards for anything?
Yes. This is probably what trips people up the most, I think, because every business credit card has in its terms and conditions, it says something like, quote, this card shall be used for business purposes only, end quote. And then people get really freaked out and they feel like the bank is going to come for them because they put their groceries or their childcare or whatever on this business card. first of all, let me assure you that the banks do not care. Okay. And again, none of this is reported to the IRS. So like no one is watching you, basically. Big Brother is not watching you. And I would also argue that almost anything could be a business expense. Okay. How would they know? Right? If you need to put your kid in daycare so that you can run your business, that's a business expense, right? That childcare is a business expense. If you need to buy pizza for your employees, business expense. Okay. Like, I just think the message here, the most important message is no one is watching you as closely as you think.
Yes. So let me just tell you about a funny story. So Rhea one day called me and was like, hey, do me a favor, call the bank, ask for a credit limit increase on one of the business card. And I was like, okay.
God,
We both were thinking about, it would just be a simple phone call where I just want to increase the limit. So I get on the phone call with the bank and they bombarded me with like 4 or 5 questions about the business.
And let me interject that Dwayne doesn't even know what his business type is when I opened this card. He has no idea.
No idea. So again, I'm talking to the lady on the phone and she's like, yeah, are you the owner, the president, or the sole proprietor? And I'm like, sole proprietor.
Which is correct,
then she's like, oh, how much money does your business bring in per year? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, $100,000 a year.
Oh my
and there
God.
are another few questions that I don't remember, but I literally pulled these answers out of my ass. And after we hung up, I called Ray and I'm like, look, we are not going to get a increase on this card. And she's like, why? And I'm like, well, they asked me a bunch of questions about the business. And she was just like, oh, no. But, I mean, within a couple hours, we had got a notification that our limit was increased.
We got the increase. But I can tell you that $100,000 was a vast increase from the income that I put down when I applied for that card for you.
Our business is doing great.
Oh, my God. Oh, and I think I needed it to cover like an expense that was like bigger.
Yeah.
It was
Again, I had no idea what the business was, how much we brought in, and I just threw some answers out there.
Oh.
And we got the increase, so it worked.
And have I ever asked you to do that again?
No, never.
Okay, so yes, I guess let that be the lesson that no one is watching you as closely as you think. You probably can apply for business cards, and I would not stress about it. Like I said, I currently have 5, Dwayne has 4, and we will be opening more before the year ends. So
gotta get those points.
Yep. Okay. As always, if you have any questions, Instagram at travelparty5. And we thank you so much for listening.
Yep.
If you enjoyed this episode or find it valuable, we would be so grateful if you would leave a review on iTunes or Spotify or wherever it is that you listen.
Hopefully this was helpful.
We will catch you on the next one. Bye.
Have a good one.